Father, I'll begin by asking you to give us your name and just tell us your full name, Father.
I am Jim Reuter of the Society of Jesus.
Arthur Francis
Bill Kreutz.
Edmundo Martinez.
Francis X. Clark,
John Krebs,
Luigi Moigi, Alter Andrew Bauer,
Miguel Anselmo Bernat.
My name is Honesto. My middle name is Chavez. And last name Pagana.
I'm Roque Angel Ferrios Iglesias.
So, Father, first of all, I'd like just to ask you to mention your name and a brief background of when you first entered the society and so on and so forth.
I'm Father Bill Kreutz. I entered the Jesuits back in 1958 after I had finished college in New York City. I came to the Philippines in 1963 teaching at the Ateneo de Manila High School. Later on, I did my theological studies at Loyola House of Studies, and I was ordained there in 1969. From 1970s, I was teaching mathematics in the Ateneo College, and I also was the college chaplain during those years. In 1980, I became the admissions officer for the Ateneo de Manila. So I traveled extensively, seeing different Jesuit works and schools throughout the country, interviewing students. 1989, I was elected president of the Ateneo de Zamboanga. So I came here at that time, 10 years ago.
Father, right before the interview, you mentioned that prior to that assignment here in Zamboanga, you never really worked here in Mindanao. Could you share some of your first impressions of Zamboanga and how the adjustments that you had to go through those first few months?
I think the adjustments coming to Zamboanga after almost 20 years in Manila were not adjustments of language, because here the language was Chabacano spoken very widely, Visayan was spoken widely, but English was spoken quite extensively in the school, in public affairs, government situations and offices. I found the food here very good. There's tremendous fresh fish all the time, of many different types, and that was nice. The weather is quite mild compared to Manila, and the people are very, very hospitable. It's a very lovely city, and I found the mix of the people quite nice. People were very receptive to new president. So I think I fit in pretty easily on a personal level. Now, how well people fit with me was another problem, because I came sort of at a different speed. I came at a Manila speed to a provincial area. But I think we've done very well over the years adjusting to one another, different styles, different types, and that has worked pretty well.
Father, as you know, we're doing a video on the history of the Jesuits in the Philippines, and the process actually has been very helpful to me, because especially the history of the Jesuits in Mindanao isn't something very well known to many Jesuits in Mindanao. So perhaps you can share a bit of what you know about the Jesuits in Mindanao, their works, their past works, some of their achievements, and what struck you the most about their history.
Well, the Jesuits came here with the Spaniards, of course. They were part of the whole Spanish movement into Mindanao. And they had very special areas in Cotabato, where they had the mission station at Tocorong. But they were also here, oddly enough, with the military in a very specialized way. The Fort Pilar, the garrison of the Spaniards, was really designed and built by a Jesuit in the early part of the 17th century. In fact, if you would see that monument outside of the fort, you will see the Society of Jesus was mentioned there. Not unlike the Fort Santiago in Manila at Intramuros. So people have been here as chaplains with the military, have been going out and working in small parishes for a long time. With the ending of the society, when the Society of Jesus was suppressed, there was a vacuum left. But the Jesuits came back around the 1850s and 60s and reestablished many of their works. Here they came in and established a number of parishes. So a number of the parishes here had Jesuit priests. In fact, the first parish, I think official parish in all of Mindanao, was in the area barangay of Zamboanga City called Tetuan, the St. Ignatius of Loyola Parish. So that was there for a long time. Then we were in charge of the archdiocese, and we worked with the bishops who were here in the cathedral. Later on, one of the early bishops here was in fact a Jesuit, Monsignor del Rosario. But after that, we gave up the cathedral to the clinicians and the parish priests who have it now. They take care of all the parishes in the city, and we are now focused much more on the school here in Zamboanga City. Not so far from here, 2.5, 3 hours by car or by some kind of a vehicle, one would reach a number of the older Jesuit parishes in the area of Ipil, Zamboanga del Sur, and the island of Orotanga. So we have a number of parishes still there, but that was our mission area for many, many years.
We'll discuss for a while and change the name. Father, earlier you mentioned the Fort Pilar. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about its story, its foundation.
Well, Fort Pilar has been a rather central place in the history of Zamboanga. Of course, its first area of being central was that it was the place where the Spaniards garrisoned their troops, who tried to oversee the economy, the social and the political situation in western Mindanao and in the island areas of Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi. There were many attacks on that fort over the years by different groups of pirates, moredos. And one of the stories was that one of the soldiers, one time begging the help of Mother Mary, carved on the, scratched even, on the wall just above the door an image of a patron of his, Nuestra Señora Virgen del Pilar de Zaragoza. So we're from Spain. And when the attack came, the Moredos were dispersed, the fort was saved, and that became something of a miraculous image, or if not miraculous, at least special. So over the years, the fort, although it was always a garrison, always had next to it, really on that outside wall, a place for mass and pilgrimage, which it still is today. Originally, it was attached very much to the Spanish situation in those times. But after the Second World War, the fort has picked up some very nice displays of various native groups in the area. And the shrine itself is a place where even some of the Muslim people drop by because it's in honor of Mother Mary. And they have a devotion, a great respect for the mother of the Prophet Jesus, as they would say. So it's a place where many people go, a place of prayer, a place of devotion, and quite nice. But that fort represents the people of Zamboanga, but can sometimes be used to represent only one portion of the people of Zamboanga, and that's when it gets a little messy.
Well, let's move on now to the history of the Ateneo itself, Ateneo de Zamboanga.
Yes.
Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about that history.
Well, for many years, there was really no official Catholic school in this area. But it was around 1912 when one of the priests of the cathedral area, a Jesuit priest, Father Manuel Sauras, opened a small school. It might have been perhaps like an elementary school or a catechetical school, and it was called the Escuela Católica. And that began to build up a little, to the point that in 1916, it was able to use the title Ateneo de Zamboanga. So in fact, after Manila, which traces its roots to 1859, the next Ateneo was 1912, and then the next one after that was in the very late 1930s. So it began small. When the Americans came after the Spaniards had returned, it became a boys' high school in 1938. So it was a rather popular school, a rather good school at that time. But of course, it was dispersed during the time of the Second World War. In 1958, they opened up a college which was co-ed immediately. Quite unlike the Ateneo de Manila, it was co-ed from day one. Then later on, about 20 years later, it turned up to be a graduate school.
So, Father, you were talking about the history of the Ateneo.
Yes. After the war, the Ateneo opened again in 1947, but just for the high school. And some of the students came back, some were older by then, of course. But in 1958, it was decided to open a collegiate level here. And that collegiate level was for men and women, which was a very big change, of course, in a city like this that has traditionally separated private and Catholic schools. In 1978, we opened a graduate school. Today, so many years later, we offer PhD programs on the campus. But on the same campus, we have children who are called junior prep, which is age 4. Over the years, too, the school has grown from 2 or 3 sections in grade school or high school to a school of 5,000 with a college of about 3,500. But one nice thing about the school, it has its good roots in Zamboanga. And we have a large number of people who are Chabacano, who are Visayan. 15% of the students by religious affiliation are Muslims. So we even have a Muslim prayer room on campus for them, and we have a religious studies for Islamic students. So from the beginning, this was begun a number of years ago, way before I came. So already the school had taken a lead to recognize the diversity of cultures within this particular city, which is very important. And I'm happy to say that Ateneo has been there and is still there now.
Well, there have been several activities and events where the different Ateneos got together for all sorts of things. For example, the ISO, the workshop,
Yes.
and so on and so forth. And I'm sure this gave you an opportunity to compare the different Ateneos.
Yes.
If I were to ask you, what would distinguish Ateneo de Zamboanga from the other Ateneos, the other Jesuit schools, what would be some of these features?
Well, I guess we should start from the beginning. We're the best. After that, who knows? No, I make sure that's in the tape, huh? Okay. But I would say that this is a school like all the schools were at an earlier time. But it took a longer time for this particular school to grow. Xavier and Davao, which are rather advanced universities and have full-fledged programs in many areas, was not the same here. Here there was a lot more competition. But what distinguishes, I think, the Ateneo de Zamboanga is the fact that we're very aware that we're in a multi-religious, multicultural situation. And as a school, we want to be part of moving that to a program of peace, to a program of development in the region. This is part of our vision. And so we have a cultural institute which we hope can slowly help people bridge the gap between cultures, religions, and styles. We'll be opening a peace center very soon, and we have people who are well trained now. So one of the ideas is we use 3 words. We want to inform so that we can reform in order to transform. We've got to change a situation which in a city like ours, and even our school, would be very negative to peoples of different cultures or religions, to a situation where we're open to them. That's coming, and I think we've made a lot of good progress with faculty and staff and even students in this area. We still have to get things together better and more carefully, but I think that would be the first thing that would distinguish us. A second thing would be that the school here is seen to be very much in the center of a number of things that could be called civic or somewhat political or social. So when rallies will occur, we'll be there. Sometimes we'll be the ones who initiate rallies or round tables to bring people in to share ideas. I think as far as bringing people in, we're probably a lead school in that way. But we see ourselves as looking for ways to enhance Western Mindanao. This has led us, by the way, then to a special move to say that our best niche at the moment will be in the areas of human resource development, management in the sense of MBAs, education, where we have a very, very fine education department. The nursing area is quite good because we have a medical school connected with the Ateneo, in fact on our own campus, although it's not Ateneo's, it's with Ateneo as a consortium. So we see ourselves moving in a number of areas that are of utmost importance to the development of the region. Excuse me.
Father, you mentioned the peace process earlier, no? That you're working towards peace, the school. And I was happy to hear that, because one of the criticisms of the Jesuits in its history is precisely, are coming in with the military and being criticized for that. But I think that was necessary during the time. But what concretely are the things that are being done? It's good to hear that there's all these efforts, but can you give an example of part of these efforts?
Well, when it comes to areas of peace, we made this decision a number of years ago that we would not have a peace education module as such for students. We wanted a more holistic view. So what we did was we've written modules which are used in classrooms on grade school, high school, even collegiate level, in history, so that people know what really has happened. We've had some terrible things happen here on all sides over the 450 years of conflict. Number 2, literature. We want to open the students' eyes to know about other peoples in Southeast Asia, where most are not Catholic. And are these the same kind of people as we are? Are they really different? And literature gives you that opportunity to see other people, how they live. The third area is in religious studies. And we want our students in their religion classes to know about Islam. What is the Quran? So when we're talking about the Bible, you can take 2 days and talk about the Quran. What does that mean? When you talk about prophets, what is the role of Muhammad? How do the Muslims pray? We have so many ideas which are unfounded because people do not know. And this is where that information level comes. On the formation level side, it's trying to get students to break away from the customs of the past, to use words of other people's culture or religion in negative ways. You are like that because you are this kind of a person, and we want to break that. We've had some major programs with faculty. We run 2 quick programs. One is called Orientations Toward Peace, where we talk about women and violence, where we talk about environment, where we talk about peace among tribal peoples and like that. Then we run a second program called Transforming Hearts and Minds, and that's a follow-up because that focuses on Western Mindanao. It focuses on history and culture and religion. So we have found these effective ways to help people come to grips with who we are and where we are, and what we, as a Catholic school and as a Jesuit school, want to do in a positive way to help bring about a change. This is a long process, by the way. Someone said, Father Bill, you've got a nice program now for the students, for the teachers, you've got people with degrees. How long do you think it will take for this to really be effective? I said, well, maybe 200 years, give or take a few. It's a long-term process, but the school is making that commitment to the process. This has to be our special, especially as a Catholic school. If we as Catholic Christians cannot reach out, cannot change our ways, then how can there be hope for anyone? So we see that.
Thank you, Father. Father, what about, you mentioned 15% of the students are Muslims by religious affiliation. How do they get along with the rest of the students? Are there been incidents or whether positive or negative, which you can mention?
From what I can tell, talking to people in different areas, students join the social awareness program. Muslims and Christians are there. They're in all sorts of clubs together. You cannot say that this is where the Muslim students hang out. There's a place by the prayer room where they tend to stay, but I don't think we see 40 different faces there in a population of 700. So it's really very small. So they very much integrated into the school. Of course, some of the girls wear their torongs, the headpiece, but other than that, there'd be no way to know who was Christian or who was non-Christian. Have there been incidents of difficulty? I would say, since I've been here, I can only recall one, and this was immediately handled well by the dean, who brought in the families, who brought in a kind of a mediator, and within a few hours, everything was taken care of. I know that many Muslims have very positive attitudes toward Ateneo. They feel this is a place where they are welcome, where they're treated quite equally and fairly, and we're happy about that. Some other people, some Christians sometimes are not happy about that because they think we're reaching out too far. But I just have to remind them that's what it means to be Christian now. But I feel very comfortable on the campus. I think the level of integration from the beginning is positive.
Now, maybe my final question would be, what do you see when you look at the future? What are your aspirations, your dreams, not only for Ateneo de Zamboanga, but also for the Jesuits' work here, and also for the whole of Mindanao?
Okay. Well, maybe I could put it on a few stages if you don't mind. First is that we really see faculty and staff, the small Jesuit community working together. When we look at the future, we see that a core principle is a very participative kind of a situation. And I think that we've done very, very well with building up a community consensus, working together, Jesuits, lay partners. This has been especially helped very recently by the Ignatian Spirituality program. This has really been, if I could say, reaffirming to us, because I think we have been there, but now we're there formally. Secondly, we see ourselves trying to work more concretely with parents and alumni. We note that we teach children one thing in school, but sometimes when they go home, they hear a very different story. And one of our persons working on a PhD right now in peace education, their particular area for the dissertation is the program for parents of children. So we see that as a breakthrough. We also see that this area already has engineering programs. We feel that we can do the best by helping people with people-oriented programs, developing persons, whether or not it would be in the situation of offices or factories or government agencies. But we feel that this is the place where the most effort has to be made to help people be better as persons. And that's we hope to get a new campus or bigger campus. We're right here in the middle of the city, you know. We'd like to get a bigger and a better campus somewhere. That's a little slow in coming, but that's part of our dream. We see ourselves in partnership with the other Catholic schools in Western Mindanao, and I think we're doing a good job there. We have many of our faculty go out. We'd like to reach out further to the public schools. We're not doing enough for the public schools yet. We want to do more for them. So slowly but surely building up our role to reach out. Our vision for the Ateneo de Zamboanga is very simply put. It says we're an educational community forming men and women of God, men and women for others. And we want to be agents of change for peace and for development in Zamboanga City, in Western Mindanao, and in the nation as we can. That formation I mentioned, though, is not just students. It's the whole community. We want everyone to slowly be part of our whole transforming process. So that's our dream. That's our future. It'll be better nuanced in years to come by others, which it should be. But right now, we feel that this has guided us and continues to guide us well for the years to come.
Father, one pahabol question. Father, what about the Jesuits' work in Mindanao? What do you see? What do you see in the future?
I see that the Jesuits in Mindanao have two very special areas of work at the moment. I see that the Jesuits who work in Mindanao have two special areas of work at the moment. One is in the schools, and our schools are really good schools, beacon light schools, and the Jesuit presence, although not many in number, is a very positive influence working with lay persons. So we're doing, I think, very good work. The second area is to work in parishes, especially in the Bukidnon area, and even here in Zamboanga del Sur, where there's still pioneering work to be done. There are not enough priests yet. Some of the areas are very far and very remote. And I think that's a particularly good area for Jesuits to continue to work in. I'm happy to say that we have those people there. The third area, I think, will only be coming. That will be some kind of a linkage institutionally with certain church and social and justice operations in Manila, coming much more to Mindanao. Right now, they tend to be focused in Metro Manila. But I feel using the schools as the platform, the Jesuits with lay partners can still offer much to Mindanao in the years to come.
Thank you very much, Father. Anything else you want to add before we wrap?
No, I'll add, let me just add that our vision and our mission is summed up very beautifully by the Ateneo de Zamboanga motto. And that motto, as you would see on the school seal, is Pro Deo et Patria. And we translate that as in the service of God and country. That's where we are. That's where we want to be.
Thank you very much, Father.